What is going on, YouTube? What is going on, Kansas City? And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the Beat of KC. This is getting exciting, ladies and gentlemen. We continue to get amazing guests on the channel. This, yet again, is another amazing guest, Christopher Tenpenny. Obviously, can't thank you enough, man, for coming on. Got to give out the accolades, obviously. Sports reporter for the Southcast Tribune out of Harrisonville. He obviously runs a podcast with Flyover Sports is what it's called. And he also writes for Royals Review. What's going on, man? I appreciate you coming on. I really do.
Man, I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to be here and getting ready to talk some KC sports.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So before we start diving in, and I grill you a little bit because that's what this is all about, go ahead and give everybody watching your Twitter handle. Let them know where they can find you, get all the good information. Definitely let them know about the podcast as well.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Tenpenny88, just like the number and the coin. That's not the year I was born. I'm actually a huge Tony G fan. I get that question a lot on the 88 at the end. And then my podcast on Twitter is at Flyover Sports BF. You can follow us on anywhere you get your podcast. So be great to join into the community.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I definitely joined. I've been a listener, and I've been kind of getting caught up and seeing what you guys have been talking about. It's definitely very cool. Hopefully I can get to that level one day, but man, it's awesome for sure. So I'm ready to dive into this. My first question, I got to come out the gate swinging. I got to provide something tough. So we're going to do a start one, a sit one, and a cut one. Okay. You got Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and I'm going to throw Russell Wilson.
You see, you made this seem like it was going to be a hard question, dude. You literally just said it in the proper order. Of course you're starting Mahomes. Of course you're benching Rodgers, and get Wilson out of there, man. It's not even a question.
I got you. I've heard, honestly, some people honestly have said Russell over Aaron Rodgers. So really? I had to ask. Yeah, I've had to ask just because I think some people like the idea of it, I guess. But I probably should have worded it a little different.
Hey, I love Russell. I mean, that's tough. You probably just named the three best quarterbacks. So it's like, there's really no wrong answer, but yeah, Russell's got to go.
Yeah, I guess if I would have said like Drew Lock and, somebody else like that, then it would have been.
Right.
Just messing around. But yeah, man, I'm ready to talk some Chiefs. Obviously, we're getting ready to come up on one of the most important times of the year, and that is training camp. Obviously, we're coming out of mini camps. We're seeing some things happen on and off the field, unfortunately. The first thing, obviously, on the field is the fact that our offensive line comes into mini camp, really enters into those camps. We're looking solid. The offensive line is revamped. This thing is looking killer. Kyle Long goes down there. And then that's expecting somebody to step up. What are your thoughts on this offensive line and really talking specifically at that right guard position?
Well, I mean, this is the second time in 3 years that the Chiefs have identified an issue and made the entire offseason all about revamping it. In 2019, it was the defense and getting Tyrann Mathieu and Frank Clark and those guys in. And this year's the offensive line. And like you said, they've done a great job at it. But if there was one position that could sustain injury, it was that right guard position in my mind. Because you already have the doctor, as I like, as everyone likes to refer to him, LDT coming back. No one really knows quite what he's going to look like taking a year off from football. But he's a previous starter. It wasn't necessarily Kyle Long's spot. It just felt like he was probably the favorite. But LDT could step in. I've even heard things like maybe Niang gets a couple looks there. Smith, the 6th round pick that they took, could get some looks there. So they have plenty of depth. Wiley's still on the team. You see, like, the list goes on and on for that right side of the line for at least guys that you feel somewhat comfortable. It's really the left side of the line that has really no room for error. If Brown or Tooney go down, then we're having a different conversation. But with Long out, I think you got plenty of options there where it won't hurt them too bad.
For sure. Watching that Super Bowl was rough. I mean, most people would 100% admit that, especially when you're seeing our franchise quarterback of $500 million running around. Like I said last night in one of the interviews that I did, one of the worst photos, but one of the coolest photos was when Mahomes was horizontal with the ground throwing it like 30 yards and almost doing a touchdown, but that just also signified how much he was just running all over the place. So I'm glad that they addressed this, and I think that in my opinion, that is the one of the most significant depth pieces that we have in this entire positions of the Chiefs. So one of the next questions that I want to ask you is, obviously we go out in the draft as well, and we address the receiver position with Cornell Powell. Sammy Watkins is exiting, heads over to the Ravens. What are your kind of thoughts going into training camp? And are there any like sneaky receivers that you think could pop in? What do you think of this receiving core going into training camp?
I'm a little bit worried about the receiving core as far as depth, as like if Tyreek or Travis Kelce gets hurt.
Yeah.
Now, if they stay healthy, if they each play 14 or more games, then it doesn't really matter the depth. They're just so good. They're the best duo in sports that it allows the Chiefs to have this kind of weaker depth with Hardman and Robinson and the crew behind them. I don't know if you can expect anybody to really, or can bank on really anyone coming out and surprising you. The closest thing would be Hardman, just because we know he has that world-class speed. But, the initial thought was he was going to be like a Tyreek, but outside of them being fast, they're not built the same way at all. They don't have the similar skill set. They're just both burners, which is nice when you have a quarterback. But, I think we were foolish, and I think a lot of us, myself included, are in that group of thinking he would be more and having those higher expectations were maybe unfair to Hardman. He's still a talented receiver, though. He's still young. He can maybe find his own niche, and instead of trying to be a Tyreek light, be McCole Hardman, be a second wide receiver, be a guy who can run the proper routes and just be reliable. And if he can take that step, which I'm pretty sure Tyrann Mathieu had some high praise already to say at the beginning of this offseason. So that's encouraging. Yeah. I think he's the best player to bank on, if you will, to be that depth piece at the wide receiver. Because, let's be honest, Demarcus Robinson is what Demarcus Robinson is. He's going to be a guy who gets 400 to 500 yards, catches 3 to 4 touchdowns, and runs backwards when he has punt returns.
That sounds like him. That sounds like me actually playing Madden. I find a way to always go backwards. So yeah, me and DeMarcus we can relate. But yeah, man, I agree. I think if Demarcus Robinson is getting the numbers that he was projecting or predicting himself, like, yeah, I should be getting 1,000 and blah, blah, blah. I think then somebody got hurt and some injuries happened. And so I definitely don't expect that to happen. But if it does just naturally, then props to him. But I definitely think that an injury would have happened to somebody if he's getting over 1,000 yards and things like that. But I definitely am excited for this receiving position. I definitely really like the pick of Cornell Powell. I think he fits the mold of what Sammy is, leaving, and then he's stepping right in and being able to take that over. I'm excited for that. I really am. But one of the other pieces, he's not really a receiver, but Noah Gray. Mm-hmm. When we took him, I honestly was just ecstatic. And everybody's like, don't compare him to Travis Kelce just yet. And I'm like, I got you. Right. But when you really compare just the body type, really kind of his route running ability, I would say blocking early on is a very good comparison. But I really just like Noah Gray as a player in this, offense, how we run this offense. What are your thoughts on Noah? And, do you like the pick? Do you think he'll kind of be a little bit more than just your typical special teams and like filling the tight end spot?
Yeah, I like the Noah Gray pick a lot. I think he has actually, as far as this year, higher potential than Powell. I think Powell's an interesting spot just because, he got to play with the best quarterback at Clemson. So it's hard to tell exactly, how much was that him, how much was that the system. So Powell's definitely someone to keep an eye on, but Gray I like even more so to make an impact now because they've kind of searching for that second tight end for the last few years. Blake Bell didn't really do it for you, and so on. But outside of the athleticism, which is hard to find, tight ends in the 5th round with Travis Kelce's athleticism. So you can't compare those two. But like you said, the rest of it, the route running, just kind of the way he blocks, the way he moves, is kind of like a Travis Kelce light. We haven't even seen this dude take a snap yet. So I don't want to get overly excited, but I think he can be a good piece for the Chiefs and has the potential to kind of finally have someone lock down that tight end 2 spot.
For sure. Awesome, man. Yeah, I could not agree more. I'm really am excited, but yet again, you nailed it too, as far as we got to see him at least in action, outside of just, running and playing and banging off of a pad with no shoulder pads and things like that. You definitely have to see him in action, especially in the highest level of football, and that's the NFL. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see him get out there, and I'm just ready for football. So it's getting to be that time. You get that itch, and people are, you can just tell, you can sense it. People on Twitter, people on YouTube, things like that. You're getting that sense. So we're going to kind of reverse a little bit and go to the defensive side of the football. And holy smokes, what is Frank Clark doing, man? That's all I got to say. What is Frank Clark doing?
It's just wild because it was a routine traffic stop, and of course we're talking about him with the felony of Uzi in the back of his car. Dude, just zip up the bag. This is completely preventable. I don't know if he was speeding or he had a tail light out or something, but that was why he got pulled over for a routine traffic stop. I don't know, man. I've had quite the roller coaster relationship with Frank Clark as far as on the field. Yeah. And then you throw this on off the field, man. It really feels hard to continuing expecting more things from him, especially him to live up to the kind of money he's making. I think he has the highest cap hit of any defensive player in the NFL, and he's maybe the third best defensive player on the team. You can't have that be the case and have these kind of issues, man. It's just it was tough news when TMZ broke it, which Chiefs fans are becoming far too accustomed to breaking news on their players.
Yeah, and I think when I did the video, I went into it with the intention of kind of getting some answers from really a fan perspective. I went in at it and kind of approached it as, yes, this is extremely disappointing, because 100% it is very disappointing. But I also think on top of that, I wanted to see their reaction, because a lot of people said cut him. They don't want him on the team. And so my initial thought was, I need to think about this. I need to assess. So my response was, why? Why do you want to cut him? Is it because of the infractions or the felony charges back to back in 3 months? Or is it the fact that he just is not producing to those numbers? And from a fan perspective, you're just not excited about what he's lived up to be in that contract. And I think as I've done the research, enough people have said that it's the second one. It's the fact that he just hasn't done what he needs to do. And I think it just is black cloud that hangs over him because of, now him having 2 felony charges with the guns. But like you said, man, he got pulled over because he didn't have a front license plate, which is, a law in Kansas, just similar to Missouri. And then they come up, and in plain view, they see the Uzi sticking out. Man. And so I've heard numerous people just zip the bag, man. Just zip the bag. So yeah, man. That's all I have to say about Frank Clark, man. It's very frustrating. But with that being said too, we've heard rumors that, and I guess they're not really rumors anymore, Chris Jones is going to be kicking out to the DN position, playing a little bit more DN than D tackle. I'm excited to see it. I don't want to see it full time. I would like to see him kind of still come back in and apply that pressure at what we're used to from Chris Jones. I think he's extremely excited to get to the outside and apply that pressure. What are your thoughts on Chris Jones playing more on the outside now? And I guess Taco Charlton, if Frank does get suspended, is going to have to step up as well. So what are your thoughts on Chris Jones stepping out and really kind of who the next man up is if Frank is suspended?
Right. I'm excited that, Chris Jones is going to get this opportunity. He's been wanting it forever. And this was the plan before the Frank Clark news, which goes to show you the depth at the defensive ends, but it's not there. So anyone that was saying cut Frank Clark, the Chiefs cannot afford to do that. The cap hit they take hit and the depth they have behind him, he's on the team. He just has too much of a track record. But as far as Chris Jones goes, I was talking about this on my podcast a little bit last week. I have no issue with Chris being on the edge in non-passing situations or neutral, like 1st and 10 kind of downs. Because I think he does a good job of setting the edge. He's got speed. And the reason I say that I don't want him out there on passing downs is he is so good at busting up the middle of the pocket, the front of the pocket, where the quarterback can step up and throw. And that's just huge from the defensive side, where he may not get the same amount of sack numbers as he would if he was a full-time D end. But just being able to have that disruption and be able to take on the center and a guard and push them both into the quarterback, that's, I still think, very underrated, because, I mean, if he's coming from one side, but the other as a D end and the other side isn't getting any pressure, most quarterbacks are mobile enough now. They're just going to run away and do what we've seen over the last 10 years in the NFL and make a play. So but up the middle, that makes everything more congested. It makes the quarterback have to make a decision. Is he going to step up and throw? Is he going to try to bounce around? And I really like that part of Chris Jones' game more. So I would still like him to see 3rd and 15, put him at D-line, 1st and 10, 2nd and 6. He can play D-end and set the edge on potential rundowns.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. And I think when you bring in Reed, who obviously gets not exactly the same numbers as Chris Jones did at D-tackle, but very similar. You're almost kind of plugging a little bit of Chris Jones in there with Derek Nottie, which then allows Chris to play a little bit more D-end. And I think that left side to me is a question mark anyways, just because behind, if Chris Jones wasn't there, it's almost like you're plugging in and seeing really what you have. Taco could have been there. I mean, the list goes on. You go out and get Kane Doa in the draft. So I'm excited that Chris is going to step out, and I think that'll really kind of stir up at least what we can expect out there. So the next question is still on the defensive side of the football, but it is one of my favorite players on the defense. I would say definitely the captain of the defense, Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. Do you envision him getting an extension? And I've asked a lot of people, just your opinion, if you do think he gets it, what do you think his contract will be?
Man, I struggle sometimes on the contract predictions, just because every team has a different outlook on it, and it's not always up to date on all the financial situations on a defensive position. But as far as getting a deal done, I find it next to impossible that it won't get done, because the team loves Patrick Mahomes. They love his input, as they should. I mean, he got to pick Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Excuse me, I can't talk right now. But Patrick Mahomes came out and said he wants Tyrann to be on the team as long as he is, and I don't think that's a comment that the Chiefs will take lightly. I think Tyrann Mathieu, you've seen his tone change a little bit too, to where he's kind of coming down to where I think he's ready to give a little bit. So you have a star defensive player that's kind of changed his tone on the negotiations. You have your star player advocating for this man to be on the team. It just seems like it has to get done. And if it doesn't, I would be utterly shocked.
Yeah, for sure. My projection has been, I went 5 years, and I think that might be just a little bit too long. The number I'm kind of getting stuck up on, just because I think he wants to be the highest paid, and I think they might do it, but I think they'll find a way for it to kind of be manipulated like they did with like a Mahomes, and that way. But we'll just have to see. I do have to agree, though. I do think it definitely gets done. So kind of to wrap up the entire Chiefs thing, I got 2 final questions. So this one is going to be more fun. If you were Brett Veach right now and you could make any move, like literally any move, what move are you making? And then kind of give a little bit of a reason why you want to make that move. And I mean, like in any move, like if it not really a salary cap issue, we're just going to imagine that it's not there. Who are you going to get?
Like essentially, it's just, if I could add one player in the entire NFL to this roster, who am I adding?
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey.
Okay.
I think that's the one level that this team is, because like right now they're banking on a rookie or a second-year player as their number one corner in L'Jarius Sneed. And with the weaknesses on the line, with Frank Clark's future in kind of limbo right now, a lockdown corner takes away all of those issues, man. Like if you can just say one half of the field is completely gone, it makes Sneed look better, it makes Ward look better, it makes the D-line look better, it makes Thornhill and Mathieu, like it literally just makes the defense go so much smoother. So give me Jalen Ramsey. Obviously not realistic, but that. If I would go and add more corner depth, that's really what I would do, just because of all the other issues on the defense. I don't need to mess with the offense. I've already got three of the best 5 offensive players in the NFL on one side of
For
the ball.
sure. And I think what's a little bit frustrating is just the fact that that could have happened. And I do think there was a chance it was going to happen at some point, and it didn't work out. And then he went to obviously
Right.
Los Angeles, but that
Man,
would have
that
been,
was
when it seems like at times though, when names like that pop up, and you probably can definitely relate. Anytime a name circulates out and you're like that he wants a trade or he's going to be a free agent, everyone in Kansas City's like, go get him. And
yeah,
it's
right.
Julio Jones was the example, man. I'm definitely going to say I jumped on the bandwagon because, I mean, that is different, though. That's Julio Jones, man. A lot of people discredited who Julio is, and it's like, how? Like, just go look, and God dang, that guy's special. So, yeah, it's just funny to me, but I love to hear it. I definitely like that pick for sure. If we could get Ramsey, that'd be absolutely amazing. So, my
Right.
final question for the Chiefs is going to be schedule related. And
Okay.
it's kind of a two-parter. So the first part is from just the schedule itself, which game are you looking forward to the most that has like the most hype? You think between the two fan bases, it's going to be much bigger than just like the Chiefs fan base and the opposing team's fan base. Like it's going to be a big time game. Which one are you looking forward to the most on our schedule?
Oh man, they've got some good ones, and it's tough when most of the good ones are at the beginning of the season because I like the late game,
Yeah.
later in the season, more playoff implication games. And so if I had to pick a one later, I think at LA would
Okay.
be my pick. What is that? I think week 15. When they go out to LA, just because if Herbert takes that next step, if Derwin James and the defense are healthy, that could be a good playoff game potentially that late. But we don't know if that's the case. What we do know is Buffalo's coming back into town week 5. And after, them thinking they took that next step, they went 0-2 against the AFC powerhouse. And so they're back in Arrowhead, and Josh Allen and the boys are going to be wanting to get after. And I really want the Chiefs to do to the Bills what they've done to the Ravens, who've had that same mindset for the last 3 years. So I think the Bills are the next team in line trying to kind of knock down Mahomes and the Chiefs, and I'm excited for an early matchup of those two guys getting after it.
That's gonna be exciting too. And me personally, this is just me. I think Arrowhead this year, with fans being back at full capacity, hopefully that stays true. I think it's going to be next level when it comes to the volume and what we're going to expect from fans. So that's going to be an environment, just that game alone, and I think it'll be incredible. The next question is, now it's kind of just a fan perspective, just from a football. Which game are you looking forward to the most? Is just like a fan, like maybe of the other team, you like some of the players. In my case, I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan. Andy's going back to Philadelphia, and then they go draft Devonta Smith. They got Jalen Reagor. They're kind of doing some things there in the backfield. That defense is getting a little bit older, but still pretty decent. But they play in one of the worst, if not the worst, divisions in all of football.
Right.
But I'm just excited for that game. I really am, just to watch it and see how we do. Which game like that would be for you?
I'm looking at the Packers game, which also could have been an answer to the first one, especially if Rodgers is on. I'd hate to double it, but I'm a huge Josh Allen guy. I love Josh Allen. I don't know if I should double dip, but that's also the one, just as a fan of, just like, I was a roommate with a Minnesota Vikings fan, so I've known about Diggs forever too. Like, those two guys, I really enjoyed them last year. And honestly, like, if the Chiefs, last year in the playoffs, I would say even if the Chiefs somehow lose a game early or whatever, I was like, the Bills are the team I want to see take this run, just because of that terrorized fan base and, the offense that I enjoy so much. So I'm double dipping and saying the Buffalo Bills games is both my choices. I don't know if that's cheating or what, but I just really enjoy watching the gunslinger in Buffalo play as well.
That's awesome. I definitely am looking forward to that game. I think it's going to be, like I said, just an incredible atmosphere. It's definitely going to be worth a watch, and definitely going to be something a lot of people are going to be tuning into, even just outside of Kansas City. I think it's going to be one of those games where people understand the magnitude of that game for football. So awesome, man. Well, that really that fired me up. I'm ready for training camp.
Oh yeah.
I definitely got to find a way to get up there for at least a couple days. I know there's a ton of people get up there and just live up there, but I got I got to get up there for a couple days. So let's transition to the Royals for a little bit. I don't want to keep you till the morning, so we'll go quickly because they're not really doing that great. But some exciting pieces still, but some negatives. So if you had to say there was a positive from the current state we are in this season, what would you say, or what would you pick is a positive?
A positive to me, which I think a lot of people view as a negative, but I think the Royals could do a better job of, is having these young pitchers get major league experience in a year that, let's be real, it started out promising, but it was really a long shot for them to make the playoffs. Like, I think that first month of April when they were 60-9 maybe skewed our expectations a little bit, which it shouldn't have. This team is a sub 500 team. But having Brady Singer and Chris Bubich and, Daniel Lynch and Jackson Kowar, yes, they were terrible and they're both back in AAA. But I think those guys getting major league experience, learning how to pitch at the major league level is something hugely underrated right now. Because you look at their stats, and they're like, oh, they got ERAs towards 5, or they've been bad for 3 starts. Like, I don't care about that. Are they getting better? Are they taking the necessary steps? Are they learning how to pitch at this level? That's what really is going to matter in 2 years or so when the Royals are really expecting to be a contender. So that's one of the huge positives to me, is just having these young pitchers get major league experience. And I was really bummed when Kowar went down back to the AAA, because like, let him pitch out of the pen. Let him try a couple times. Like, come on, don't let these guys who has a .87 ERA in AAA go back to AAA. Like, what's he going to learn there? That he's good there and sucks at the majors? Come on.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's, I kind of went on a little rant today about that. I think because I at least understand the concept of playing college baseball. I most definitely do not understand what minor leagues are like, or even what Major League Baseball is like. But I think when you get to a certain level and you experience failure in the way that those two guys did, it makes you hungrier because you did fail, and then you go back and you kind of can evaluate and assess and go down. And I do think that, yeah, I like your idea of putting Core in the pin, but I think sending him down sends a message to him. Yes, a lot of people say there's some negative things that can happen, but I think just the way he's the player that would go down there and just light a fire, and we're going to see a different Jackson Kowar the next time he's in the major leagues because of that. I think a very similar situation with Lynch, just because he can go back and look at film. Hey, I was up in the zone and I can work on this. So yeah, I most definitely agree. But I also can understand you got Greg Holland out there who, yeah, he had a good save last night against the Yankees, but Greg Holland's struggling. Wade Davis struggling. I mean, there's some guys that just do not deserve to be back. Those are Dayton Moore's loyalists, but yeah, for sure. So what do you kind of transition a little bit now to the negatives? If you had to say there was a negative, and I almost just said it, well, at least what mine is. If you had to say a negative, what are your negatives for the current state we're in this season?
Can I really jump quick back to defend my boy Greg Holland real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
The issue with Greg is his blowups have been really bad and in close big games. But if you can't take those away. I understand that. He's still got a 3.86 ERA. Yep. He's still got 5 saves on a team that's very little offensive firepower right now. So Wade Davis deserves all the credit, all of the backlash he gets. He's not pitching well. I think Greg Holland unfairly gets grouped in a little bit just because they are, they literally have a nickname with the 2 letters next to each other. So like, Greg Holland hasn't been perfect, but I think a lot of major league contenders would take him in their bullpen. So I want to defend my boy a little bit. Yes, he could pitching a little bit better, but he doesn't deserve to be put on Wade Davis's level at this point. So
yeah, I completely understand that. So that kind of leads me to the next thing. Then, do you think that some of these guys, and if you had to, who are the trade pieces come trade deadline if we're not at the level of competition where maybe it is time to trade off some stuff? Who do you think's going?
I think Greg Holland could potentially be a trade piece as long as he doesn't have, 2 or 3 more blow-ups between
Okay.
now and the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Um, I think the best piece they have at the major league level is Mike Minor.
Okay.
If you look at his total numbers, and they don't jump out at you except for his innings. He eats innings. He gets strikeouts. He's a lefty. I think that's very valuable to a lot of contenders. He has experience out of the bullpen as well. He has another year on his contract with the team option for 2023. So there's some, you get some control there. I think that I would really like to see him be traded unless the Royals are above 500. Like if Mike Minor's on the team and they continue to lose, I'm gonna be a little bummed out because he's going to get another year older and he's going to lose another year of controllability if they don't take the next step next year either. So you completely waste Mike Minor. Solaris technically should be a trade piece. And what's crazy about him is like he's still hitting the ball pretty hard. Like he just Solaris one of those guys that has no trade value right now. But if he has a week or two, where he hits, 4 or 5 home runs, which that's a lot, but it has just one of those 10 to 14 game stretches where we see vintage Soler, it might be enough for an American League team, to take a flyer on him and give a potential major league piece, not a huge one, I'm talking about maybe a potential reliever, but it's like something that could contribute down the road if he gets hot. Now, if he doesn't get hot, then he's going to be on this team and it's just going to end and we're going to go our separate ways with him. Outside of that, I mean, Duffy technically has trade value, his contract's up, but we've seen how Dayton operates with these guys who are Royals through and through. He didn't trade any of the 2015 guys. Duffy has the coin saying bury me a Royal, but if he stays healthy and continues to pitch like he has, I mean, he only pitched 2 innings, but he struck out 3 or 4 today in New York. Like that's a guy that's going to actually give you the most value. If a lefty that's pitching well is going to bring the most value. I mean, again, it's only for a rental, but still, there's a lot of teams. I mean, the Rays always looking for pitching, weird pitching. Or it could be the Red Sox desperately need pitching, do another deal. Like, there's plenty of takers for a guy that can be a number 2, probably number 3 starter. So that's actually who I would like to see trade. I love Duffy. That actually pains me. Yes. But I'm a Royals first, player second, and Dayton Moore can't be too attached to Duff Man.
I was gonna say maybe you need to be the GM and we can get Dayton out there because he definitely gets emotionally attached to his guys for sure. I was also gonna say I think Soler's trade value goes through the roof if we see him hit a ball oppo. That's just my opinion. Right? If he decides to hit a ball oppo, I think he could probably pull top 100s easily. I wish he just wouldn't take as mighty of a hack every time. I think if someone truly could sit down and just explain to him I'm sure they have, don't get me wrong, but Terry Bradshaw is clearly not getting to him. Soler is definitely one of those ones that is frustrating. But speaking of frustrating, holy smokes, what is Raul Mondesi doing? I mean, I understand that he is hurt, but my first question with him is, do you think he struggles to understand the difference between being hurt and, I guess, being injured?
I've seen this floated around a lot recently just because as fans, like when he's on the field, you see it. Like you're like, this is definitely the best athlete we've had since Carlos Beltran. Like that's not even a debate at this point. So you want him to be on the field and be good for so long that when he's not and it's a regular occurrence, you start to question that durability or that just desire to play. Man, I'm in the camp where these are just injuries, man. Like it may be something with the way he trains. It may be something with the way he swings the bat or run. I don't like Lorenzo Cain used to have running issues and they had to change that so he wasn't injured all the time. So I don't know exactly what it is, but I don't think this dude is like fake, not faking it, but being a baby or what. I don't think that's the case. These are real injuries that just continue to happen to him, which absolutely sucks. And it's hard when you're trying to evaluate this next run and maybe your best player or for this next run can't stay on the field, like how are you supposed to evaluate? So don't get me wrong, I completely get the frustration, but I don't think it's from him not knowing the difference between hurt and injured. I think he's actually injured. It's another thing that they need to look at on why he's always injured.
For sure. I definitely could talk about this a lot longer, and I
Yeah,
definitely have some other questions I want to address on. But there's always the question of, are they going to start talking to him about a position change? I've heard that multiple times, because we know what's coming down there in Double A at shortstop. The guy is raking. He is playing unbelievable, and he is hungry as well. So it'll be interesting to see how Raul, obviously coming into an arbitration year, how that is handled. Do they even talk? Maybe they go at it and just give him an extension on his low. He's obviously can't stay on the field, so maybe that's something they can work out. It'll just be interesting to see how they move forward with him and how he ends up progressing forward. I hope that he can find a way to stay and they can make it work, because we see the MVP talent. I mean, the guy doesn't go on a rehab assignment. He comes back from the IR and hits a freaking nuke his first at bat. I mean, that right there is just the talent we know is there. It's just, yeah, it's crazy. So, but the next piece, obviously, I want to kind of transition a little bit, just because the draft is coming up. The College World Series is going on. I'm beyond excited for the potential of what the Royals can get there at 7. I do wish we were just a few picks up, just a little bit. But what are you thinking about going into this draft? Are you on the fence where a lot of people are saying we want that high school shortstop? We want to go get one of those guys and potentially put them in center field? Or are you one of those guys that wants to go get a college piece, like hopefully the guy that I want, Kumar Rocker?
Yeah, if Rocker's there, I have a hard time believing that the Royals won't pick him. The thing about Rocker, though, is as the way he pitches, Brandon Finnegan isn't a fair way to pitch him, though, for those of you who remember the 2014 draft. But as far as like where he's at in his development, I think that's a fair assessment, to where like I don't know how much more he has to gain. That's what's tough with college pitchers. Sometimes they're pretty close to their max potential by college, and he may not be able to take that next. I'm just speculating. No one actually knows it. Just his body of work, the way that they've used him at Vandy, the way his velocity's kind of trickled down a little bit over the last year, and him going from clear number 1 to potential being the Royals at 7 does worry me a little bit. I still think he's a good enough pitcher, though, that I'm with you. Like if he falls at 7, like I think the Royals would be crazy not to take him. I would like an outfield piece. I think they're a little thin. I think their best outfield prospect is Eric Pena, who's like 18 years old in rookie ball. Yeah. So like they definitely need some more depth there. If they do take the shortstop out of high school, that's a little risky. With him not being, he's not a Bobby Witt Jr. You potentially still have Mondesi for a little bit. But they do just take the best available, I guess. Yep. It really is like whatever the Royals have and there is the best person on the board. If they pick that and can defend that, I'm cool.
Yeah, for sure. If they get Kumar Rocker, I might pass out, wake up, and immediately find a way to buy that jersey. I'm really looking forward to him coming to the Royals. I think his presence on the mound is just unmatched in some of these players. I think that he can probably mesh very well with the guys that we already have in like a Singer, a Coar, those types of guys, because when they take the bump, they do have an attitude, and they're that bulldog that goes out there and at least shows that aggression. Sometimes it doesn't translate, but you definitely like to see that for sure. So, and final question, if you could pick any of the major elite stars, so we're talking Ronald Acuna Jr., Fernando Tatis, Aaron Judge is considered one of those, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, any of these guys, or even more than that, what I just listed, and you could add them to the Royals, who are you adding?
I mean, you have to add Ohtani, right? I mean, the guy can go out and pitch and hit, be one of the league leaders in home runs. I mean, I think what we're seeing him do is just, I don't even like, it's very much appreciated and it still might be underappreciated right now. So I love Ohtani. I think it sucks that he's in LA. It sucks that Trout's in LA, and Trout would probably be my second option. It's crazy that another 500 to sub 500 team has the top two players I would take, but baseball's in such a good place. There's really not a wrong question. Like, you could take, if you said Fernando Tatis, if you said Ronald Acuna, if you said Juan Soto, like, there's so many guys that if you said, I'd be like, all right, that's fair. Like, I wouldn't sit here and argue with you. So that's the encouraging part. But the Royals need a lot more help than just Shohei Ohtani if they want to take this next step.
Yeah, for sure. You know, for some reason, I'm gravitating towards the MVP front runner right now, at least in my opinion, and that's Vladdy. If Vladdy could join up and strap on a Royals uniform, I think that would be awesome. But obviously, like you said, so much more is needed. That just, you know, I don't think if we got any of those people or players that it would just pump us to a next level. Like you need way more. So, but yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm excited for just to see the Royals continue to grow and expand in that minor leagues, because I could have asked you a ton of questions about the minor leagues because I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to see Flash. I mean, our AA is literally an all-star team right now for the minor league. So, but yeah, man. Christopher, I can't thank you enough, man, for coming on. This was absolutely phenomenal. This was a pure enjoyment. I love the information we were able to exchange and give the viewers. One last time, can you give them your Twitter handle so they can go over there and check you out and see what is going on at the podcast as well?
Yeah, for sure. Again, man, I appreciate you having me on. I had a blast today as well. I always love back and forth on KC Sports. If you want to hear more about this back and forth, though, you can follow me on Twitter at Tenpenny88. Also, make sure to check out my podcast, the Flyover Sports Podcast, which our Twitter handle is Flyover Sports BF. We would love for you to go on and hit a follow, and we will probably follow you back.
For sure. Well, man, again, thank you so much, and this was awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys know how I end these videos. As always, have a good day.